we welcome back Krisha Crosley from Serenity Life Doula. You would absolutely know who Krisha is because she's all over social media doing the most, and she is a renowned natural childbirth educator that I am personally very fond of. So, super happy to have her on. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about what it means to tap into our wild side and why this is so important for a physiological birth. As always, guys, get yourself comfortable and enjoy. Krisha, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you again.
So excited. Why do I smile when I see you? It's so weird. I'm just like grinning.
It's okay. Positivity, smiles is contagious, right? Just we hear all this like negative stuff and negativity is contagious, but you know what? Positivity is contagious. We can flow oxytocin levels and have a great day, and we just don't think about it as that much.
So true. And when someone smiles, you can't help but smile back, right?
I know, right?
So let's get cracking, shall we? I want to dive into the podcast with the main question that is the overarching theme. What does it mean to be in our wild side during labor and birth?
We need to tap into our inner mammalian strength. So we have other wild mammals out there birthing babies, birthing their live young, I guess you should say, way easier than us human beings. Like they're not getting vaginal checks, they're not around beeping noises, they're not being pressure. Oh my gosh, you're past your estimated due date, or your baby's too big, or your baby's too small. They don't have this type of pressure that us humans have. So when I educate expecting parents in natural childbirth, I tell them, I'm like, you have to envision yourself like a wild mammal out in the wild. What would that wild mammal do when it comes time to birth their young? They're going to go into a dark, safe, closed off, vulnerable place that they can have a baby. They're just not going to drop a baby in the middle of, out there in the light and everything, because then they become prey to a predator. And if they feel threatened, they're actually going to get up and they're going to move somewhere else. They're not going to have a baby. So humans need to take that wild mammalian side and act like that as well. We need to find dark places to have our baby. Simply turn the lights out. I tell everyone, I'm like, dilation starts with your eyeballs, not your cervix. If you get the lights out, and your pupils will dilate, and dilate means to open or widen, and then our bodies are like, they kind of get more relaxed and it gets more calm because it's dark and our pupils are dilating. And then we'll start getting more primal, like you're out in the wild and you'll moan and you'll groan and you'll sway to your own birthing rhythm, just like the other mammals do. And then your vocal cords and your throat will open up. And then it kind of vibrates down towards your cervix, and then your cervix will eventually open up in the vaginal walls and the baby will come out. So one thing I tell them to envision and actually practice towards the end of pregnancy is having their baby. If you were on a deserted island with your partner and you weren't stimulated by all this modern day society stuff, you were just out there, and your belly starts to grow over time and you get some wiggles and moves, and belly begins to grow even more, and then one day in the middle of the night your body spontaneously starts having these sensations, and then they come kind of rhythmic, and then you start kind of moaning and swaying in the darkness, and then your partner is giving you water or touching your shoulders, and at some point your body will start bearing down, and this tiny little human is going to emerge between your legs. And then you're going to take this tiny little human and you're going to put this tiny human onto your body. And at some point, this tiny human will, crawl and start nursing. And then shortly after that, this meaty thing is also going to come out of your body. And then you're just going to leave it there. So I have moms, I'm like, you should just kind of start envisioning that and mocking it up and knowing, one, it gives them confidence that they can do it. But two, it's also connecting to that primal instinct that they have, that birthing power they have, to get rid of all the noise that's around us and all the reasons why we can't have a baby. You literally have to connect into your wild mammal side to have a baby. That's how babies will come out quickly if you just lose yourself in the field of labor. So I'm an athlete, so I talk a lot of athletic terms. I have a Train for Birth workshop, and I'm like, lose yourself in the field of labor. Just let it go. Get into that mindset in that sport, and then just mentally let go and just have a baby. When you mentally let go quick, you have a baby a lot faster, because physically your body knows how to birth a baby. That's what I mean by be a wild mammal. A wild child out in the in the middle of nowhere having a baby.
I love that, right? I'm all over it. I'm all for it. But what you've described is something that not many women will experience, because what we're going through right now is the complete and total opposite. We find out we're pregnant. We are usually highly anxious. We're worried about that first scan. I'm experiencing a third pregnancy, and so I'm walking this path of a modern woman who is preparing for birth. I am now scrolling like a pregnant woman again, receiving lots of messages from people all around the freaking world with different ideas and opinions, although I'm doing less of it because I'm conscious of it now. And then I'm attending midwife appointments. Already they've been saying things to me like, there's gestational, there's diabetes in your family, so therefore we need to do the glucose test, and then mentioning shoulder dystocia. And I'm only 13 weeks, so I've already had this. So there's this hyper-vigilant surveillance of the woman throughout pregnancy, and these touch points that each time are saying something could go wrong. And that then puts us where? Into the thinking brain, and we're no longer in the mammalian limbic state. We're no longer trusting that the baby's just going to come out like you just articulated. We're thinking, when is something going to go wrong? This is terrifying. And it's the birth at the end, like the scary thing at the end. And now, obviously, there are times where we need that medical support. We need the screening. But I think we've gone too far. And then what we leave women with is a mistrust in their bodies. But even bigger than that, the conversation that we're not having is the false positives. The amount of time we're checking for things and finding the wrong answers, we're false positives. And then we're intervening where there may not need, because we're, this is what we're doing. And so you've just described a situation that is sort of unattainable in some ways, if I have to be honest, unless you are highly conscious and you are bold enough to, make your own pathway. Then the default option is just what I've explained, which creates a certain level of anxiety and mistrust in your body.
Exactly. 100% agree. You also have to keep in mind these midwives are being pressured by the medical system as well. And honestly, the medical system has done a fantastic job of marketing their services to help deliver babies since, they moved into the field of the 1920s. They've just built and they've built and they've built. So it literally holds women in fear. And when we are held in fear through pregnancy and then into birth, our bodies are tight and tense, right? We're literally overthinking it. We're using the front part of the brain. It's way too analytical. And we need to get back into this back side of our brain where we're just kind of like, let our body do its thing. But the re-stimulation from the constant messages from our providers, our best friends, social media, TV, whatever it may be, causes our body to just be in this fight or flight state the entire way. And I think, honestly, it's preventing spontaneous labors from happening, because we're like that mammal in the wild who feels like prey, and they know there's a predator right around the corner, and they're like, oh no, I'm not having a baby now. I'm going to keep this baby in and run somewhere else where I can have a baby. And this is preventing spontaneous labors from happening. And then the more closer they get to their estimated due dates, or possibly they're even passing it, the fear mongering and the pressure gets even more. And so the mom's body is just like, it's tightening up. They're going in the fight or flight. And the baby's like, I ain't going out there. I'm going to stay right here.
I wish there was a study. I wish there was a study with what you're saying, because this is what I see with my doula clients and my friends that get to 40 weeks pregnant and then they get hounded they get pressured with the induction messages and their bodies just tense up, and they're not releasing their babies, and they're not going into labor because they're so scared and worried. And someone said, you've got a deadline. By this number of weeks, we need to book you in because there's not enough beds anyway. So if we don't book you in now, we can't book you in. So you're booked in and your body's on a deadline and on a clock. And we know that the body does not perform on a clock. It can't. We need oxytocin, not adrenaline. So I wish there was studies about this, because we see this as doulas.
Yeah, you're not going to find studies about this though, because it's people can't sit on their hands and let a baby come out of their body in the medical field. It's like you can't get paid from natural birth. And I think that's part of the reason why we're not seeing any studies about that.
I think it's much worse in the US as well, because of the way that the healthcare system operates, and the insurance, and whereas in the UK things are different, but we're still in a state where most women are having high intervention births.
Yeah.
We have medicalized births.
Yeah, we have in the United States, our cesarean rate is 33%. So that means out of 100 women, 33 women will have a surgical birth. My Train for Birth program, when people come in and they train through me, I have a 96% vaginal birth rate. So that means out of 100 women, 96 women are gonna get a vaginal birth because they've prepared their mind. Yeah.
Talk us through what do you think? Because that's really, that's like you could take that statistic to someone, like that's like everyone should have the program, right? So what is it that you think you're doing and how you're educating that's helping women in that way?
It's one, getting the body prepared. We're very sedentary lifestyle. We sit on everything. We sit on toilets, we sit on couches, we sit in desk jobs 8 hours a day, day after day. We sit in trains, planes, and automobiles. We do a lot of sitting, and our bodies are not built to sit. They're actually built erect and to stand up. So getting the body moving into the 7 primal movements that our human bodies are supposed to do daily helps mom's body be more balanced, and then also helps baby grow into an ideal birthing position. All the sitting and the lounging with electronics and all that stuff is causing our babies to be in not great birthing positions, which gives you longer, harder labors. And like you said just a few minutes ago, we're on a clock to have these babies, and depending on your location, you are going to be put on a clock. Well, sorry, the baby hasn't come out now. We have to move on to a surgical birth. The other thing is building confidence. When you do things repetitiously, it gives you power. It empowers you. It gives you confidence. So again, I've been an athlete all my life, and what do athletes do? We train, we practice, we train and we practice, and we do things repetitively. So when we step on that field, court, or track, then we just perform our sport and we don't have to think about it. Our body knows what to do, and we just get in this zone and we just go. So having a baby, it's like a sporting event. You're going to work hard. You're going to be in it for so many hours. You're going to burn a lot of calories. So you want to be prepared when you step up to the starting line of that birthing marathon to run on your birthing game day. So my program brings about a lot of practice of the exercises and movements and the natural flow of the birthing rhythm that you're already going to do. So you're just going to practice those movements, and then when you get into your birthing game day, you're going to lose yourself in labor because you've practiced it. You know how your body should move and labor to its own birthing rhythm, which gives moms confidence, and they're more willing to connect to their own birthing power and then just have a baby. So it's brought, first-time moms in the US, it's 24 hours to have a baby. My program is down to 8 for first-time moms. So they just practice it, and then they get into their birth zone, and they have a baby, and it's like, poof, it's over with. It goes really quick.
What about, obviously, things like advocating for themselves, the system? Are you finding that most women are choosing home, for example? What are the other choices that these women are making due to the influence of your program that are then stacking the odds in their favor? Because, of course, we know women can do all of this stuff and then walk into a hospital with a cesarean rate of over 60%, which shows the culture and the values, and those things will influence her if she doesn't have the other tools. And maybe it's just a case of staying at home a lot longer. Sometimes that's a really good thing to do.
Yes, that is a good thing to do. It's giving her confidence. She's more willing to step up and voice what she feels is right for her and her baby. And then her partner also gets skills. So it's just not her herself, it's them as a birth team because they created this baby. They need to have this baby together. It's the same hormones and love and connection between the couple. So they're more willing to be like, well, I don't want to do that right now, or I want more time to labor, or they know to stay home longer before actually moving into their birthing location, depending on where they're birthing. But I have a lot of people who come through my program and then they're like, is it too late for me to transfer care? I'm 36, 37 weeks. And I'm like, absolutely not. Get your shoes on and run because you're going to have a better birthing experience and out of hospital experience than in hospital. But then they're educated and now they know, wait a minute, my body knows how to have a baby. I have the tools to get my body prepped and my mind ready. My partner has the tools that he needs to help be a supportive partner. And now I'm going to stand up for what I know is right for me and my baby. I just thought I had to birth in a hospital. A lot of people, they just think that's where they have to birth because of what we see in TV and what people talk about. And then this light bulb goes on and they're like, oh, wait a minute. I'm created to birth my baby. I don't have to have that. Now, as a little disclaimer, if you need a higher level of care or you or your baby need medical attention, you should definitely get medical attention. But that's literally like 10% of the population. We have 90% of us bringing babies into this world that don't need medical attention to have a baby.
I think that's the key, is that not many people know that, because when you hear the stories from friends, the stories that have been passed down in the media, you would assume that it was 90% of women that had troubles having a baby and only 10% had physiological easy births. So when you put that stat across already, it's like, wow, like my body does have the intelligence to do this. So if you had to kind of distill in a sentence what your program can do for women, what would it be?
It is functional training with the exercises that will actually mimic labor and also mental prep to be able to go through birth.
Wow. Guys, go and check it out. That sounds amazing. I want to have a look as well for my birth, although I feel pretty well prepared as things go, as much as you can be. I think I just fundamentally trust myself and my body, which is also the main crux of what you're doing as well, is instilling confidence, isn't it? Because we've lost that as women.
Exactly. And Poppy, it's also about getting the people around you that have the same like-mindedness as you. So you want to get into those groups and other women and other birth professionals that think like you, because then that's going to bring more positivity to you. It's going to flow more power to you. You're going to have more confidence. So really watch where you're putting your attention as you're scrolling through social media, or you're listening to different stories, or people are they notice you're pregnant, you're going to hear like a million negative stories, and you might hear like one positive one. So if someone starts feeding you a bunch of negativity and how horrible their birth was, you can be like, you can protect yourself and be like, okay, thank you for sharing. Change the subject.
Strange once you're pregnant, it's like, hello, floodgates, just tell me everything. But so just on the theme of the wild side, tapping into your wild side, we understand we're like mammals, we like these quiet, safe environments to birth in, but there's also this other side to being wild, which is instinctive birth. What you explained, what you said, which was mooing and following your body's urges. But as a modern woman, we're not really listening to instincts day to day. What is an instinct? We wouldn't know one if we, I don't know, tripped over one. Like it's not something that we're aware of. Look, we're in the neocortex all day long. So how must we expect women to go from sedentary neocortex stimulating all day long? Probably most women like control. Modern women like to have control. To fully trusting in my body, trusting the process, and birthing instinctively and being wild enough to make sounds and move instinctively? Like, how do you get there?
You practice, you train,
It's
because you're
practice.
right.
Yeah.
We are told to ignore, like, or we're told we can't do it. And so then that brings in a doubt and insecurity, and we think we need help, or we have to have drugs, or we have to do this, or we have to do that. But when you practice something, and it can be with regards to childbirth, or it could be with regards to your job or your kids, or really any aspect of life. When you do things repetitiously, you become more comfortable with it, you build confidence. And my program, basically what I did is I watched women labor. I pulled myself out of the hospital system, and I was like, I'm going to watch women move their bodies naturally to their own rhythm and see what they were doing. They were squatting, they were lunging, they were getting on all fours, they were high squatting, they'd do deep squats, they'd lift their leg up on a bed or the side of the tub, and they would do these lunges. They would go sit on the toilet. Like, they were doing all these different movements, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can train that. So I wrote the program based on what they were already doing, and I'm like, here, go practice these things, because you're already going to do it in labor. You might as well practice and get ready, to move your body like that, which helps the pelvis expand and open. That way the baby can descend in the pelvis, put pressure on the cervix, and come out of the body. But it also builds that confidence. It literally takes away the doubt and insecurity of that person, because they're like, I'm already going to do this. I'm practicing it, and I'm practicing it.
So good. Yeah. I mean, especially, some women will be able to kind of tap into what their body's telling them to do easier, but most women, we struggle. And so knowing that you've rocked your hips from side to side, you've moved, you've done all of these things, then when you're in labor, it's second nature rather than kind of going, what do I do now? You're like, I've rehearsed for this. So the same with my birth box program, I teach meditation, which is all about quietening the mind and quietening the thoughts. And I say to women, if you haven't accessed that calm state in pregnancy, how are you going to find it during labor in the swings and throws? The whole point is that you've practiced the calm state, you've practiced the movements, and then you're just walking into it. You're going into you've done it. So that's so interesting. Yeah, it's something that we talk about in hypnobirthing. Practice your breathing techniques, the movement, etc.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? So we've obviously spoken about practice as a key theme, but your career as an athlete, what other things have you taken away from being an athlete and pushing your body to extremes, and how that might apply to labor too, as a kind of physical experience?
One of the things I do is I do work a lot with athletes. They're my favorite, because one day I was like, why are all these professional women athletes having surgical births? I'm like, no, it's cutting your core. Your core will never be the same because of the scar tissue. And then one day I was like, oh my gosh, the light bulb went on. And I was like, when you're training as an athlete, you're training your core to be up and tight, because that's where you get your dexterity and your athleticism. And then I realized that we need to train the pelvic floor down. We need to train the core down so we can get the baby out. But don't worry, we'll train it back up later. Because if you were to tell an athlete, hey, you need to relax, you need to let your bottom go, and your core needs to get a little bit looser, they're like, no, that ain't happening. Right? So I always tell an athlete, and I explain to them what needs to happen, and I go, don't worry, it's just temporary. We need to do it to get a baby out, but we are going to train it right back up afterwards. And when I started doing that, that's when my cesarean statistic started dropping a lot, because I was able to train down their pelvic floors and cores to get the baby out, and then we'd train it back up afterwards. So that's one concept, especially for an athlete, especially if they're elite. And then it's also that mindset. I know if you are an elite athlete, and you've played, I've played Division I college volleyball for years, and I tried out for the women's team Olympics. So I'm pretty hardcore, and today I still compete in high rocks and decas. So I do it, and I know a lot of other women do it as well. Is that mental space? They're going to be they're not going to stop until they have a baby in their arms. Like, I know for a fact they're going to do all the movements and they're going to keep their body up so gravity can take over and do all the things. They're not going to stop because of the mentality they have when they work out. So that's me personally. I like working with athletes. I will work with anyone who feels like they're coachable, they're open for suggestions and willing to listen and accept some guidance type of thing. But I know if I'm working with an athlete specifically, she has the same mentality as me, and she's not going to give up until the baby has crossed the finish line, basically.
The thing that comes to mind when I imagine being an athlete, I've never been one, but is conviction. Mm-hmm. And having total confidence in yourself to be able to win, and like unshakable. Because if you don't, how are you going to win? Like, how it's not possible. You need to believe that. So yeah. I feel like that same level of confidence. I mean, that's what I try to do with women, is to empower them to have that level of confidence where they trust their bodies. But I'd also say, when you trust your body to that degree, you also trust your instinct to know when things are not quite right. So it's not always trust your body, everything's going to go right. You might be in that 10% where actually, I'm really experiencing pain in that side, something doesn't feel right, and you trust your body to know. So that's also another thing, is that it's not always about trust your body, everything's going to be fine. It's trust your body during all scenarios.
Yeah. And Poppy, I do train women who have never worked out a day in their life. So I associate it with something they've done in their life. We all have goals. We all work towards something. And so you have to relate to each individual based on, their lifestyle and what they believe and things like that. So there's always some goal, and it could be with work, it could be with staying at home mom, or whatever the case may be. And you're like, when you're really determined, like you're going to get something accomplished, that like you're like full on, and you're like, you block everything out, and you're just like, you have your blinders on, and you're like, you're going for it, right? That's where I want women in labor. I'm like, we are putting our blinders on, we're giving our phones off, or put them through our partner, or put them in a drawer. We are just like cocooning ourselves, and you're going to go for it. You're going to do what it takes until you meet your baby. And each one of us has that drive. No matter who we are or where we're at on this planet, you have to learn how to communicate to that person that you're working with and get them to see that. And when you can get them to tap into that and start practicing that in whatever works best for them, the training program, it could be your program or another program out there, because there's a lot of great ones out there, is you have to practice to get there. And you will get there if you take the time to practice. You have to still your life. I tell people, I was like, pregnancy is a very short runway. Like, some people are in their second trimester before they even find out they're pregnant, and you only have 6 months left. It's a very short period of time. This is so important that you need to put it on your calendar and work your life around it. It's only a short period of time, because what's happening is we're living life, we're doing all the things, and all of a sudden 36 weeks here, and people are like, feel like they got slapped upside the head, because they're like, oh my gosh, my baby's about to be here. And that's a surge of cortisol. And now we're in that fight or flight again, when they could have been putting a little bit of time every single day since they found out they were pregnant on educating themselves, or practicing their breathing, or practicing getting into that zone, or physical, or whatever it is, right? But we're just almost like societal agreement procrastinators, right? And you're trying to shove it all in when you could have just been doing a little bit of time every single day, put it on that calendar, and you work your life around it.
And the irony is that it actually helps you to feel more calm and confident as you start to slowly get towards the goal, rather than leaving it till last minute.
Yeah,
exactly. Do you know what's interesting though? Because I'm hearing this. Yeah, go.
Yeah. There was something you said earlier too about pressured on time to have a baby earlier. And I wanted to make this point. So I answer all my messages. Believe it or not, I still answer all my messages on my Instagram. That's me giving you an answer. So when people go, Krisha, I've done all the things, I don't want to be induced, and they list all the things they've done out naturally to try to help jumpstart their labor. I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of stuff. I mean, you really been working it, but all of it is stress, right? And I go, let me tell you, there's one thing you haven't done. And they're like, no, like I've done it all. I'm like, no, you haven't. I go, the one thing you haven't do nothing. Do absolutely nothing. And
Let
so when
go.
these moms are all like, oh, like this, right, trying to have a baby, I'm like, go in your closet or a dark space, right? Cocoon yourself. Turn the lights out. Eat a bowl of ice cream. Listen to your favorite music or your podcast. Read a book. Turn out the outside world. Get away from the outside world stimulation. You know, just have a moment to yourself in the dark. Every single time I tell a mom to do that, 2 days later, she's like, oh, it worked. I had a baby. And I'm like, I'm a genius.
Oh, you could sell that. You could put that in a bottle.
I know. It's, do nothing.
Do nothing.
Yeah.
Just go and let go.
Yeah.
Happened to me with both of my labors, went past the man-made due date, then decided to let go of it, oxytocin, rush, boom, into labor. Yeah.
Yeah. It's being that mammal in the wild.
Yeah.
Dark, enclosed, safe space, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Like,
yeah,
it
not being
works
watched
every time.
If you've got a deadline from the hospital, you've got to come in at 41 weeks because, there's no beds and we need to induce you. You are psychologically being watched from afar because someone's saying you need to get this, you need to go into labor.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a whole nother podcast, I'd say. But as I'm listening to us speak, I do think that perhaps, tell me if I'm wrong, that different women at different life stages, at different pregnancies even, require different types of prep. So for me, it would be inconceivable to start practicing movements and start doing all of this stuff. It wouldn't feel right for me at this stage of my life and with what I do, giving birth from the third time. I feel that I have an unshakable sense of confidence in myself. Mm-hmm. And my plan is to just surrender and let my body do what it's designed to do automatically and listen to my body moment to moment for what it needs. But it feels like inconceivable to do what you've laid out. However, as a first time mum, I would have needed that because I don't know what to do. I've never been through labor. So would you say, feel free to push back, by the way, I may be wrong and maybe I should really do the movements but what do you think to that? Do you think that different women at different stages need different things, or do you think actually every single baby you need to go through the same prep?
I think you have to meet that woman where they're at, because you need to have her willingness and determination to do it. And if she's not willing or determined to do it, it's not going to happen. So it's where she's at in the process. You feel confident. You're also a birth doula yourself. You're an educator. Like, you hear the stuff all the time. You're inundated with the stuff all the time. So it's kind of like you're prepping, but you're not really prepping. But then I'll have some first-time moms that are really like, they'll wait to the last second. And then I have some first-time moms who pee on a stick at 3 or 4 weeks, and they're like, give me your program. That was my daughter. She peed on a stick. She's like, Mom, be your doula. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a great idea. I'm your mom. But Mom, you're the best. You have to be my doula. And I'm like, but you have to understand, in the moment, I'm your doula. I'm not your mother. I can't wear both hats. I am your doula. It's okay, Mom. You can be my doula. And I'm like, okay. I'll be your doula. But she was like, give me your program. I'm ready. And she, from 4 weeks all the way to 40 weeks plus 3 days, did her workout routine every single day. Now, my daughter's an athlete and she practices just like I do. So she understood. So she's one of those likes to control things, right? And then you have some that are like, I'm just going to wing it. That works for that person. But then I'll have moms, like 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 10th time moms. I've had moms who had gone like, they really studied hard for their first, and then they've had 4 babies, and then all of a sudden it's like that 6th baby is like, oh my gosh, I feel so unprepared. I know I've done this before, but something is just like being re-stimulated to them, or something, little doubt has come in, or insecurity, or maybe they have heard a couple of horror stories or something like that, and all of a sudden they're like, I got to go through the prep again. So it really depends on the woman and where she's at in her life, who she's hanging out with, what she's heard in interim between her kids. And then maybe there was something maybe a little bit off on that last birth that just didn't make her feel good. And she's like, no, I'm going to fix that for the next time.
I mean, yeah,
So it can change from baby to baby and pregnancy to pregnancy.
The only way I can describe my state of mind is, imagine you teach your program, you imagine doing your in-person program, and I said you've got to lock yourself in the room and practice teaching your in-person program. You'd be like, why? I know it. Like, I know it's in my, it will just come out. It's almost like that's where I feel, but I don't know if I'm maybe being naive. I need to sign up to a program, Krisha. Just do something different.
Yes. I think you're just confident. And when you're confident, you're like, okay. When you're confident, you're unstoppable. Like, you're resilient. And that's where I want women when they step up to that starting line. You feel confident now, but I'm not saying it has to be, but in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, something might happen, or somebody's going to tell you a horror story, or you get feedback from one of your clients or something like that, and you're like, oh no, and now it's shooken. That stable datum is shook. So then you might be like, okay, this week I'm going to put on my calendar, I'm going to work on my meditation every single day for a week to get you back to that confidence.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you can use it too.
It's not a fixed state.
It's not rote, right? It's like you don't have to do everything every single day. And one of the things I have in my program, I actually have women practice their breathing on the toilet. I'm like, get your knees above your hips. You're supposed to be in a squat anyway when you release your, the waist out of your body. So let's assume the position that our human bodies are supposed to be, eliminating waste out of our body. And then I want you to practice your breathing. And when you practice your breathing, I want you to feel your pelvic floor go up and down, right? Because let's think about it. When we go to the bathroom, we sit down, we go to the bathroom, we herp, and we go on back to work, or we go chase a kid, or, whatever. And we don't pay attention. We're just doing our business and we go. But when you take that time to assume the position, slow your breathing down, and feel your body open, come back, you're more willing to allow the pelvic floor to come open in labor if you practice it. And I say, you know what? How many times you go to the bathroom every day? A lot. I'm like, yeah. And if you practice 2 breaths every time you went to the bathroom every day, day after day, just think how well practiced you're going to be in breathing. So you're incorporating some of the exercises and the things you naturally do every single day.
Just a question. So you've obviously worked with lots of women in person too. Have you ever seen a woman who has done your program, practiced, you've been at her birth, and she has been wildly out of control and screaming and completely... Have you seen that?
I have not experienced that.
No.
Mm-mm. Because I train them to get into their zone. And when I go out to their homes, I train them privately, sometime between 34 to 36 weeks. And I put them through the whole Train for Birth workshop, and I do the exercise with them. So I can look and be like, that's what I'm looking for. So when you do that drill, this is what you need to tap into. And then I'll explain to them, in labor, these type of things are going to happen. And if you start to get panic, or you kind of start to go out of your zone, I'm going to get you right back in it, because I know you've trained for it. And I'll tell you, you train for this. Find your birth zone. Get back in.
So tell me, in that moment, okay, so you're not saying that it doesn't happen. You're saying that it does happen, but you're able to find them back to the zone.
Yeah, I don't have the screaming and yelling. That doesn't happen, because as soon as I see them come out of that primal, alternate universe, so to speak. Kind of like one mom just told me her story last week. She's like, I feel like I left my body for a little bit and came back. And I was like, that's that alternate universe feeling that we all need to find having a baby. So when she starts communicating in full sentences, or she starts worrying about something, I'm like, get in your zone. focus, and then she'll snap right back in it.
Wow, that's interesting. What about like vocalization? Of course, you must have seen some, yeah, but it's a different. There's a
I
difference
I
between,
teach them moaning, like
yeah,
I'll like be like, and
yeah.
they'll duplicate it as they go, so that we keep those vibrating low tones of the body to help the body dilate, open up.
Is there a risk that it becomes performative if, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, if we
Hmm.
are, we have to stay in our zone, we have to do this, could could that place pressure on the mum, or do you usually see actually it just works and it's important, and if you stay in your zone it will flow better, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Or is it,
Yeah, yeah.
is it a constraint?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
It
no.
works. No,
Okay.
it works because if I mean yeah, it goes back to the mammal in the wild, right? What are they going to do? They're not going to have all this other outdoor, stimulation around them or telling them what to do or you need to do this or that, get in this position or whatever. They just have a baby. So if you can keep them in the zone, is what I call it, keep the distractions away. Don't ask her a bunch of questions or you're throwing her out of labor. Just let her do it. She stays in it. It goes a lot faster. The faster you can get her lost in labor land, the faster she's going to have a baby because she's allowing her uterus take over. It's an involuntary contraction, right? It's going to contract when it wants, for how long it wants, and the intensity it needs. And if she just allows the uterus to do its job because it does its job very good, the baby will come out. But she has to let that happen. She has to surrender to this birthing rhythm that she's born with. And if she doesn't do that, she's going to stall labor. And it's going to take her a lot more hours. It's going to be harder on her because she's not in a full surrender. She's tight and tense. She's holding the baby up, mentally or physically, emotionally.
Why is dilation overrated?
Because it's a fixed point. We think we need to be dilated to have a baby. We're being pressured on the fact that we're not dilated before going into labor. So sorry, your body's just not going to respond. Dilation will never tell you when a baby's going to be born. So why are we even putting our attention on it? It's keeping moms in fear. It's feeding into that doubt and insecurity that they have, and it's basically telling women that they can't have babies because sorry, your cervix isn't going to open up. But it's part of the blueprint of the birthing process. When we have strong uterine contractions and the baby's head is well applied to the cervix, that cervix will respond when her body's ready to birth the baby and the baby's ready to be birthed. And our fixation should be on that. Like, just labor and the baby will come out of your body. But nope, we're like, oh, you're only 2 centimeters. Oh, you never got past 5. Sorry, you're out of time.
It's
It's,
like a psychological interruption as well as a physical
yes.
one, because the physical side of having vaginal assessment is uncomfortable usually. You're in a different suboptimal position. And then, of course, midwives can find out things like the position of the baby's head, but we do not need to be having them every 4 hours routinely for every single woman. That's probably going to be causing more harm than good, especially with the increased chance of infection, not to mention what it does psychologically for the woman.
Yeah. They're a tool. Let's be clear. They are a tool that can be used, but it is a tool that's abused. When the baby's trying to come down and you've got fingers coming up, that is super uncomfortable. That is an interruption. What do you think oh my gosh, that's painful. As soon as she's going to do, her body's going to shut down and close around everything. And now we have a stall because now cortisol levels are down, cortisol levels are up, birthing hormones are down because she's in fight or flight. Oh my gosh, that was so painful. Oh my gosh. Well, it's not natural. It's not supposed to happen. So of course her body's going to shut down. And then we have some women that have past traumas that could be restimulated or brought about, and now we can't get her out of that state. And her body was refusing to open up. Right? Yeah. So when you learn about physiological birth, you can trust it, and then you'll be more willing to surrender to it, and your body's going to open up just fine if you believe in it. But if you still go into birth with that little doubt or insecurity, or you're like not quite sure, I think I might have to do this. Well, my mom had me, this way, and then you're like, maybe I have to have my baby that way because my mom had me that way. That's another stall that can happen, right? So it's very powerful mentally. So that's why they say like birth is 80% mental. It's 20% physical because your body knows what to do. But it's getting you out of your own way. You got to take the think out of childbirth and lose yourself in labor.
Yeah. Easier said than done, though.
I know.
But,
it's super hard, but if you practice it and
Yeah.
you practice it, it's going to come way easier for you because you've practiced it. And you can practice anything. You can practice anything, realistically.
Yeah.
But I have them, one of the things I do is I have my moms do wall sits. Wall sits are terrible. Oh, terrible. About as bad as planks, right? But when you wall sit, you fire your quads, so have them do barefoot because it makes the quads burn more. And the quads are the front part of the thighs, and it's a large muscle group. It's not like your uterus, but it's close enough. And when I have them do the wall sits and extend out to 1.5, 2 minutes, their legs are burning and their body starts to shake. So it definitely mimics hard labor contractions in labor. And if they're able to hold it and not fight it and just focus, I tell them, I go, mentally you will give up first before your body will physically. You have to train your body you have to train your mind to not cave in. And that's what the wall sits do, is it trains them mentally, even though their legs are burning and their legs are just shaking and, oh my gosh, I can't hold it anymore and this is so hard, and I want to train that out of them. I want them to be able to sit for a wall sit for 1.5 minutes, burning and shaking, and their mind is just silent.
Wow. Making me want to wall sit right now.
I got a wall behind us, we can practice.
It has been a joy to have you. If someone's listening, which I'm sure people will be, frothing to hear where the hell we can find you. And we spoke a bit about your program, but tell us, okay, so mostly people will be listening internationally. So first tell us, if I'm an international listener, I want to work with you. Where do people find you? What do you do? What services do you offer? And everything that you speak about we'll put in the show notes. FYI, take it away.
Okay. I'm Serenity Life Doula on social media, so I'm on all the Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I'm on, YouTube. I have all of that, so feel free to follow me. I put a lot of content out there because I think people need to know. A lot of demonstration, so you can duplicate. Doesn't matter if you speak English or not. If you watch it, you can still learn from it. And then I have a Train for Birth Academy, which has all of my online courses. So if you don't live in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area of the United States and train with me in person, I do private virtuals. I have a pre-recorded Train for Birth workshop that you can watch in the comfort of your own home. It's trainforbirth.com is where you basically can find all of my Train for Birth Academy and all of my online courses, because I have a pregnancy training program that's from 6 weeks to 35 weeks, or if you're looking for a regimen workout, 5 workouts every single week with PDFs, and then short little demonstrations of the movements. And then Train for Birth workshop is for 34 plus weeks, so that's where we're like training this pelvis and your mind to allow your baby to cross the finish line. And then I have a childbirth essentials, I have postpartum essentials, I have a whole bunch of other little courses that I'm continuing to build more courses as well. And I'm about to roll out actually in a few weeks here, Prep for Pregnancy, which is get your body and mind ready before you actually conceive. So that's the next thing I'm rolling out. And then I'll have breastfeeding essentials and baby care essentials. So I have a lot more coming in the pipeline, but trainforbirth.com is where you can find all of those type of courses.
Amazing. Just we'll edit this out, but just want to know, do you ever offer discount codes or not?
Yes.
Because if you give me a discount code, then you can track the sales from here. I don't know, 10%, whatever. Just so that when we put the link, then you can see how many sales have come from here. Because
Nice. I
this
have an
episode
affiliate
was,
program too. Like if you want to
pardon?
be an affiliate program, so where you
Yes.
get your
Why don't
own
you
private.
set that up? And then what? So what should we? The code can be pop that mama for 10%.
Yeah, whatever. Oh, I'm
Okay, so
willing to do more than 10%, but I'm like, I want people
20%,
training that it's not about the money to me. Like I can do
20%.
20 or 25%. Yeah.
Do 25% then. So if you
Yeah,
just
because I
say,
want to. I want people training. It's not about the money for me. It's about people being able to afford it. And there's a lot of people that can't afford good
hmm,
childbirth education. So I'm like, really, it's important to me to provide discounts where people can actually afford the training. So that would be
let me
for my
ask.
train for birth workshop.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask you, Krisha, for our lovely audience, will you be welcome, Krisha? For our audience, are you happy to drop a little discount code in for us?
Absolutely, I'm willing to do 25% off for my virtual train for birth workshop.
Amazing. So we'll put that link in, and is it code Pop That Mama?
Sounds great.
Fabulous. Deal done. Guys, I would highly recommend going to do that course because, the stats don't lie, and I want you guys to have an amazing birth and couple it with the meditations from Birth Box, and you will be on to a win. Mindset and body work. Love it. Krisha, thank you so much for being here.